Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. I took a couple of days off from playing Isaac after that last video, just decompress, you know? 8DAD, RNTC. It's hard, you know, it's one of those things, I mean, it's not like real trauma. This is a great seed, by the way, assuming we can get a little HP. It's not real trauma, you know, it's not like it was in, like, an accident, and then, you know, the day of the accident, I was like, I feel fine, and then the adrenaline wore off, and I was like, actually, I'm dead. But still, you know, you're coming off the, you know, an emotional sort of high into, crushing is maybe a little bit hyperbolic of what, you get what I mean. So, you know, yesterday I was like, I really want to play Isaac today. I was like, nah, I'll play Slay the Spire and Gungeon instead. Today, I'm like, you know what, let's play some Isaac. Give yourself a little bit of time off. Get back on the horse. And remember, you know, you don't want to associate with a game that you love. And I think this goes, holds true for a lot of things in life. One bad experience, you know, sometimes it's not fair. But you got to actively, you know, insulate yourself from making yourself associate the negativity with the game itself. You know? You got to get back on the horse. Remember what you like about it. Remember, you know, you're playing Isaac to play Isaac, not necessarily just because you had a 45 streak. You know what I mean? Imagine you had straight A's in school, you know, for like 3 years. Then your report card comes out, you get blindsided. You got a B+ in science. You know, you let it get you down for a second, but what you don't do the immature thing. What's the immature thing? Oh, now that I got 1B, I guess I'll just never try again. You know, that's a coward's approach to the situation. There's two non-cowardly approaches you can take to the situation. Next semester, I'm going to try harder. Do as best as I conceivably can to get the straight A's that I desire so much. The alternative? Dude, I hate this room. The alternative? Keep working as hard as you are. Recognize that, you know, occasionally, chips might fall in such a way as to make your goal unrealistic. Okay. Hold on. Easy, Ned. Wait, careful, Ned. That's what they say. That's what they said when that show was good. I'm sorry, I don't mean to pile on. Sort of. I mean, I meant to pile on, but we don't have to talk about Game of Thrones. I'm sure you're getting enough Game of Thrones discourse through whatever social media channels you choose to follow, or even the ones you don't. Suffice it to say, can I say a sentence that it'll aggravate sycophants online for sure who think they're above media franchise properties? Only watch subtitled anime released between the years 1989 and 1997. Which, by the way, does pretty much describe all the anime I've ever seen. So before you get mad, just remember, you know, would I have told you my plan if there were any chance for you to intervene? I already started it 25 minutes ago. Watching the final season, and in particular the final episodes of Game of Thrones, has really made me... I want to send a thank you letter to the Russo brothers. I think y'all did a fantastic job with Infinity War and Endgame. Just give them a round of... And of course, you know, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. We won't talk about The Hobbit, but, you know, I will take them. Let's give it a try. Big ups to Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers and all the other people involved in the Marvel franchise for giving the first, you know, extended phase of the cinematic universe an appropriate send-off. Kudos to you. Anyway, that's all the cape stuff I'm gonna get into for now. Let me caffeinate here. Ooh, it's good. It's smooth. You guys drink cold brew? You might not drink coffee at all. Coffee's weird. I recognize caffeine is, when I say coffee is weird, I'm not just trying to get like Jerry Seinfeld here, but I recognize caffeine is a drug. No doubt about it. The only thing that annoys me is that because of its classification as a drug, you end up getting into these arguments sometimes on Twitch. That, to be honest, I mean, I'm not sore about it, but I think the arguments are deliberately perpetuated in bad faith. I don't think it's trolling or bait. I think it's just people are like, you know, let's just see where this goes. So you'll be like, you know, I don't think, you know, people should do crystal meth. And then somebody will be like, well, Mr. Hypocrite, so you think crystal meth is deleterious to somebody's life, but you have the audacity to be biologically dependent on caffeine. It's true. I mean, on some level, it's not that you got me. It's that you're correct. You've uttered a statement that's like, you know, well, you appear to oppose crystal methamphetamine, and yet simultaneously a water molecule consists of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom in the center. You're not wrong. You've uttered a factual statement, but I don't know what the statement is ever supposed to mean. If I'm supposed to be like, man, he got me. Coffee is absolutely ruining my life. Like, I hate that I get roped into it sometimes, but I try to, you know, I approach, this is how I approach community management, you know, almost all the time, is I assume, like, okay, the person on the other side here is arguing in good faith. Let's tease apart what they mean. And oftentimes they, you know, they're just having a laugh in the court of the king, as Murray says in Flight of the Conchords. But, like, you know, you gotta look for what in the DS. What are they on in the DSM? Like DSM-7 or something like that. What they say about addiction. It's like, you know, does it impact the responsibilities? Yo, this is huge. That you have in your life. Is it a harm to your health, mental or physical, or the people around you as well? You know, first off, don't talk to me until I had my coffee. But secondarily, there is a bit of a degree of severity difference between, you know, a hardcore get yourself killed narcotic and a, you know, caffeine or glucose or video games, you know, dopamine. Hold on. Okay, I thought it was worth a try. I think I'm gonna grab this, and I love it. And then I'm gonna re-roll again and hope for something a little bit better. You know, we have been to our item room, but I still think this is an interesting attempt here. Anyway. If you've never consumed coffee, would I recommend that you start? That's an interesting question. I think the mature answer to the question is that, I mean, here, let me give you, I'll hit you with a few different axioms, okay? I think the pragmatic answer to the question is that it literally doesn't matter. I think you know, if I could go back in time and, you know, young me working a teaching job that he doesn't enjoy very much, you know, it's a 10-hour day, he's been talking to 8-year-olds who don't respect him all day, and he goes to take that first toxic sip of Maxim instant coffee in Korea, what would I say to him? I would say, you know what, dude? Have at it. It's a little slice of ambrosia to get you through the day. Enjoy yourself. But it can be a pain in the butt if you find yourself in, you know, a situation where you can't get the coffee you would like to have to start your day. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm highlighting it because people get very into coffee. I drink a decent amount of coffee. I have like 2 cups a day. But I still don't know anything about coffee. Like, there's fancy coffee shops in Vancouver. Corey's into coffee. He took me to one of these fancy coffee shops one time, and, you know, they serve you like you ever had like a beer or a whiskey flight where they give you like the tiny cups and then like there's tasting notes for the coffee? It was like one of those, and, you know, all 3 coffees tasted different. But I wasn't like, oh, I can tell that this is a single origin coffee from the foothills of Nairobi, whereas this one is an Arabica from Brazil. I was just like, yeah, it's coffee. That's slightly cooler coffee by virtue of the fact that it's been cooled evaporatively. I'm not a connoisseur. For sure. I'm a coffee, sir. One coffee, sir? Coming right up. Doesn't really make any sense. I'm spinning anecdotes out of nothing at all. Although, I gotta tell you, you know, we did some anecdotes this weekend. It's Mother's Day. So on Saturday, I mean, I'll regale you with the tale of my whole Saturday. You know, we woke up, went to the dentist's office. Nothing to report at the dentist's office except the exact same thing that happens every time at the dentist's office happened. Like, literally down to the wire. Or like down to the note-by-note discourse, you know? Dentist tries to have a conversation with me, asks me questions while he's got, you know, hooks and stuff in my mouth, and I'm just like, wah, 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 and then he's saying stuff, but like, you know, he's like behind my head, I can't really understand him, and he's like, what do you think about that? And I'm like, wah, 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 and he's like, yeah, me too, and I'm like, dude, I didn't say anything. Honestly, I think my dentist gets off on it a little bit. Is it? Well, the dental hygienist, at least. He's back there going, you know, he's asking me like, hey, what do you think is the meaning of life? And I'm like, wah, 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 wah. I think he's like, let's see how long this idiot will, out of politeness and decorum, continue to answer my questions. I'm not mad about it, you know, it's fine. I do think that maybe the, you know, dentist appointment ends up being like 8 or 9 minutes longer than it has to be because you're having a conversation with somebody while you got tools inside of your mouth. And then he goes, you know, do you floss? And I go, now and then. And he tells the same joke every time. He goes, here's what I always say, only floss the teeth you want to keep. And I'm like, I get it. And then he pulls me over to the x-ray machine. And he goes like, or the x-ray readout. And he goes like, you see this? And I go, I mean, I see that it's an x-ray. And he goes, look at the shadow right here. It's been roughly the same for like the past 5 or 6 years. So what do you think? You just wait and see? And I'm like, all right, dude, you're the dentist. Yo, talk about a lucky get there. But I mean, it's not bad, you know, it's fine. Then we went to our in-laws. Well, in-laws is a bad term. I'm not afraid to put the English language on blast. Because when I say in-laws, is that my mother-in-law, father-in-law? Is it my wife's parents? Is it my wife's sibling? You know? Could be anything. Let's see. We got 4 cents. We might get lucky. 4 cents is like the least ideal number for us here. 5 cents we get an arcade maybe. 4 cents we get jackass. Went to our in-laws. And in this case, it was, I guess I'm supposed to tell you. It was my mother and father-in-law's place. Had a nice Korean barbecue dinner. It's a weird one because, like, you know, as long as we're talking about in-law ambiguity, it was my mother and father-in-law's house, but my sister and brother-in-law were indeed there. And, you know, this is going to be a bit of a contentious subject. It's a company with a contentious history. I've minced no words, at least, you know, related to my opinion of Elon Musk as a meme lord. But my brother-in-law got a Tesla. And I gotta tell you, he took us out for like a test drive in it. It's a cool car, dude. It's not a Model S, you know. He's balling, but he's not balling like that out of control. But you know, it's a Series 3 or Model 3, whatever it's called. The sedan, and then it's outfitted with a couple of additional perks on top of it. Part of the reason that I was probably so impressed with the car is because we currently, and Ford Canada, you ever want to smooth this over, email address is in the Twitter bio. We're driving a hunk of junk. It's a 2015 Ford Focus. There's a known issue with the like the firmware in the transmission, so whenever you're changing gears at low speeds, the whole car lurches and like shakes around like you're driving a friggin' washing machine with a brick in it. I'm not a car guy, okay? I don't want to get in the, Ford, fix or repair daily, Dodge, like, I'm going to Dodge buying it because I'll have to, get my oil changed every 30 miles. I'm not that guy, okay? I don't care. I don't have a bumper sticker of, like, the Ford logo peeing on the Chevy logo, so don't take it up with me. All I got is the experience of having driven this car for the last 4 years, and then anytime I get driven in anybody else's car, it doesn't even have to be a Tesla. You go drive my mother-in-law's Kia Forte, and I'm like, dude, this thing's smooth. Anyway. Don't worry, the class action lawsuit that the Canadian public took out against Ford was settled. Everybody's entitled to $75 of compensation per visit that they made to the Ford dealership, specifically with respect to the transmission itself. So I think we got really good lawyers for that one. I think the class action lawsuit was represented very well. Anyway. It's not like the Blue Book value of the vehicle is like $6,000 lower than his contemporaries. And I'm not trying to like basically I'm just trying to like, you know, give you my personal experience on my with my Ford vehicle. If you have a better experience with your Ford vehicle, I'm not sore. I'm actually like stoked for you. I'm happy that you didn't have the same experience we had. We're all in this together, dude. Anyway, so that's part of the reason that the Tesla felt so nice. And I mean, it also, like, because it's electric, it has no gears, right? So when it's accelerating, it's just like, it gave me that feeling, and I don't drive like this, so it's not really that applicable for me. But he, like, went to, like, a road with no traffic on it, and then, like, floored it, and I was like, this is what a roller coaster feels like when it starts. And that's scary. I also don't even know if it's legal in Canada, but for like half of a block, he turned on like the auto drive, where it drives itself. First off, it's freaky to watch the car, like, you know, maintain its speed, and you can see like on the heads-up display, or not, it's not a heads-up display, but you know, on the console screen in the center, it knows where the curb is, it knows where the lines of the road are, and other cars around it. It was a little shaky. We came to like you know, a 25-degree bend in the road at speed, and it kept us going through. This is just horrible, dude. It kept us going like through the apex of the turn, and then overcorrected to make sure we stayed in the lane. And I was like, Elon, you gotta get to work on that. But it's an impressive automobile. I understand. Look, I don't mean to attack Mr. Elon Musk, a man substantially more successful, accomplished, definitely intelligent. People say, like, you know, the fact that, you know, Elon Musk has built successful companies doesn't mean that he's smart. You know, he has engineers that do the job for him, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but he's still, like, he's smarter than me. All I've said about Elon Musk is that I think it's wild that, you know, a really successful man in his 40s also feels the need to pander to the internet and relies on their approval so much despite all this stuff going on in his life. But, you know, that's... I'll call it like I see it, you know? Hate this room, by the way. As much as I don't care for him necessarily personally, and we can agree to disagree on that. And my opinion on that has changed over the years for sure. But mostly with the Thai sub stuff went down. But anyway, you know, maybe it's not for me to get into that discussion. We got 9 keys. Let's do this. Oh no, we smelted left hand. I wasn't even paying attention when I did it. Could be good, possibly could be horrible as well. But anyway, I call it like I see it, you know, that it was a fun car to be driven in, for sure. So you gotta give credit where credit is due. It seems like a fun automobile. He also, again, people, they're a little, I don't want to say ignorant of how, like, you know, the duties at my job work. But he's like, dude, you should just get a Tesla. And then, like, if you do videos about the Tesla, they give you, like, a referral code. And you could probably just pay for your Tesla with referrals. And I'm like, man. I make videos about video games. I'm not that guy that's gonna be like, dude, you know what? I would love to buy a car that's really expensive and also chains me to making videos evangelizing that car to justify its purchase. Maybe one day there will be a car in that bracket in my future, but, you know, I'm not really that much of a car dude, for one. Secondly, that feels like kind of like a betrayal of, you know, what I do on this platform to begin with. I mean, it's not an easy choice. I think, but do this. I was also like, dude, I'll show you my demographic info. You know, I got a lot of viewers that are young adults, and that's cool. Some young adults are financially in a place where they can afford, you know, an expensive automobile. But I don't know if you looked at like the data, economically speaking, recently. I'm not sure how many people watching my videos, especially the under 18 bracket, are going to be picking up, you know, hey, I'll just buy a $100,000 sports car because NL said it's cool. Anyway, it was a cool drive though, I can't deny that. That's about it, really. I mean, it was a nice day. Had a oh, finally. After 10,000 years, I'm free. Let's pop AWAS, because we don't really care about it for the next floor anyway. Yeah, and I'll caffeinate again here. And apart from that, that was pretty much the day, dude. Like, I mean, my nieces were there. You know, again, I tell you every time, they're like 7 and 4, 7 and 3, something like that. It boggles my mind. The 7-year-old, you know, she's bright. And I don't want to insult her. She's not bright by adult standards, but she's very bright by 7-year-old standards, which is all you could really ask for. I just don't want you to think it's like a Doogie Howser situation where, you know, she's like, you know, talking about quantum physics. You know, she's mostly playing games. But that in particular, you know, I didn't know her really when she was younger. But the 3-year-old, every time I see her, you know, it's like I saw her at like their birthday or American Thanksgiving, which is also around their birthdays, and she was like unintelligible. She basically like could not talk. Well, I mean, she could talk, but like it was ununderstandable unless you went to like the language school of mom and dad. She would be like blah 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 blah, and they'd be like, "Oh, you want some soup?" And then she'd be like, "Yeah." And then the next time I saw her was at like, you know, Christmas, and she would be like, "Uncle Ryan," and then I'd look at her and be like, "What's up?" And she would go, she's a little creepy, but now she's like telling stories. The human body and brain is an amazing thing. I always put it in perspective in like the exact same way. But like, you know, it's been like 6 months since she was basically unintelligible. Which is an insulting thing to say about a human being, but I mean, she was like 2.5 or 3. What have I done in 6 months? I mean, thanks for noticing. I've been working out a little bit, but like, apart from that, there's not a whole lot of personal growth that's happened. Her brain is like tripled in throughput. It's insane. I'm not like jealous. I mean, I went through it, I'm sure, myself as a 3-year-old. I hope so, at least. Also, kids, they're ruthless, and I mean this in like the best way possible. They were playing like this Temple Run knockoff on their iPad. It looks exactly like Despicable Me Minion Rush. The game that I had my victory ripped from me in Champions of Fire 2.0, Round 1. Look it up, against Mystic 7. Anyway. So they're like, "Uncle Ryan, you ever seen a game like this? There's 3 lanes and you like swipe to collect the collectibles and dodge the stuff, and you don't want to get hit by this." And I was like, dude, it's time for me to be a cool uncle. I was like, you know, I played a game like this. You know the Minions? They're like, yeah, I know the Minions. And I was like, I played a game like this with Minions on television for money. And then I expected them to be like, what? I'd pull up the VOD and they'd be like, he's cool. Instead, they were just like, oh. And then they just kept playing the game. And I was like, you know, that's fine. I guess, you know, Uncle Ryan isn't as cool as he thought he was. I would like to think that when I was 8, if somebody had been like, you know, hey, by the way, you know, I know you love Super Mario World. I played Super Mario World on Video and Arcade Top 10, and I won a KFC Big Crunch combo. I would have been like, what? We gotta find that episode. But here's the thing, it would have been like 1996. How are we gonna find that episode? That would be the kind of story that would live with you for like 20 years. One day you would just, you know, happen to be switching between the channels on the television. There'd be an old rerun of Nicholas Pickles, and you'd be like, that's Uncle John. Anyway. I don't know, and by the way, this is not a kids these days in a bad way. It's a kids these days in a good way. As a youngster, I used to watch a television program called Tiny Toon Adventures. Probably, this is where if it was a stand-up special, the audience would go, woo! And I'd be like, yeah, they know. Anyway, at one point on Tiny Toon Adventures, there was an animated music video. I must have been 6 or 7 years old. And, you know, I got the weird steel trap memory for pop culture for whatever reason. And I just remember that the song was going, Particle Man, doing the things a particle can. Usually kinda smaller man, particle man. And like these lyrics stayed locked in my head for like a decade. Because there was nothing you could do in 1996 to 2003 to solve your problem. There was no YouTube. I mean, there were search engines, but they kind of sucked. You know, you'd just be tuning in. The song would be locked in my head, and you don't know if it's real. It's like a Shazam situation, you know? You don't know, maybe it's a fever dream, maybe you dreamed it happening. Then, of course, you know, now I'm aware of the fact that it's Particle Man, but they might be giants, which is why I was able to do a decent impression. But, because I wear glasses. That was what it was like back then. I'm sure people can relate to now. I mean, and it's so much better these days. You think you remember something, you just Google the metadata, you know? Tiny Toon Adventures, 1990s, Particle Man video. And like in 2 seconds, there's probably like 9 uploads on YouTube that you can go to. Figure it out. Back then, you had to harbor that, and you had to fight to like have people believe you. You'd be like, I was watching Tiny Toon Adventures, and there was a joke about Prince getting fingered. And people would be like, no, they couldn't put that on TV. And you're like, I saw it. That was on Animaniacs. Sorry, my mistake. Later, 10 years later, you would be vindicated. There is also the flip side. I will never forgive whatever IMDb user screwed me on this one. In Spider-Man 1, Peter Parker wrestles against Macho Man Randy Savage. F in chat, please. Macho Man Randy Savage says, hey, Freak Show, you're going nowhere. I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of, and then this is where you go, playtime. Right? Because that's what he says. I swear to you, the only argument I ever had that nearly came to blows, as ridiculous as it sounds, with my college roommate was over this friggin' scene. And I maintain to this day, because it's the correct opinion, that he says 3 minutes of playtime. And then my college roommate said, no, dude, he says 3 minutes of me time. We watched the scene on YouTube. Even though Randy Savage clearly makes a plosive with his mouth against, he fake newsed me and went, it's me time. So I go, you know what, dude, why, if you're so confident, why don't we go to IMDb? We go to IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, if you're unfamiliar, and wouldn't you know it, notable quotes, it says, hey, Freak Show, I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of me time. It's like he put it there before the argument or something like that, which I don't believe he's that petty. I believe it was a very I believe it was a fortuitous coincidence from his standpoint, but I will never forget the argument as a result of that. At least we had IMDb, but I'll go to the IMDb now. I'm sure, it's been 13 years since we had this argument. IMDb, Spider-Man 1. He's just called Spider-Man. There you go here. Notable quotes. See more. And then you control F. 3 minutes. Give it a second. Hey, Freak Show, you're going nowhere. I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime. Yeah, Bonesaw McGraw. Also, you know, as a sign of the time, how much things have changed. You know, I saw that movie in 2002 when it came out. Biggest opening weekend of all time at its release. We had no choice on this one, but didn't bat an eye when Peter Parker says to Bonesaw McGraw, hey, nice onesie. Did your husband knit it for you? Look, I get it. It's a joke. Simultaneously, it plays a lot worse in 2019 than it did in 2002. In 2002, we were like, you know, oh, big masculine wrestler. You've implied that, you know, his sexual preference is, you know, diminishes his ability in the ring or something like that. I mean, I was like 13, so I'm not, you know, I wasn't looking into it that much. In 2019, you'd be like, whoa, Peter Parker. Come on, man. That's a little... It's not very, you know, woke of you, Peter Parker. I mean, you can insult him for a lot of things. Rampant steroid abuse, for sure. And, I mean, he also seems to take pleasure in inflicting pain in this amateur wrestling ring, which it doesn't seem like is part of the wrestler code. Like, I think you should all be in it together. You know, if anything, you should almost, like, unionize in order to... Because, like, why does the promoter get paid so much money when Bonesaw is out there? I mean, the dude is wrestling all comers. You know how much toll that's going to put on your body? Not to mention he has to wrestle a freaking superhero who got bit by a radioactive spider. What does he make at the end of the night? It's like $75. Anyway, I'm just saying, is a line that played a little bit different back in 2002. I'm not suggesting the film. I mean, I love Sam Raimi. Drag Me to Hell, great movie. Evil Dead 1 and 2, masterpieces. Evil Dead, Army of Darkness. Look, it's a bit of a meme fest, but it's not like a bad thing. It's not as good as Evil Dead 2, which is, you know, one of the best movies ever made in my personal opinion, and also an objectively correct opinion, but... That's why, when I watched, and I think this... I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know, but, at the start of 21 Jump Street, back in like 2012, 2011 maybe, I was really impressed. I was like, this movie has actually subverted my expectations. As they go back to the high school, and then like Channing Tatum makes like a joke at the expense of one of the people in the high school, and then everyone goes like, hey dude, that's not cool. It's 2010. So what if he is gay? What are you gonna do, bully him as a result? I was like, this movie, I bet that's probably a closer representation of how high school students are. I mean, now you're like, 2010, I was in high school. By the way, I got gray hairs in my beard now. But you got to understand that, you know, as someone who graduated from high school in 2006, if you went to high school in 2010, you will, you know, like Mariah Carey says, you'll always be a baby, do-do-do. And you're like, I got a master's degree. And I'm like, can't hear you, still singing, do-do-do-do. You were born in the year 1994? What are you, like 8 years old? I'm 25. I hurt myself I mean, it's not like I was born in 1988. It's not that old. At least I'm not Dan Giesling. I don't even know. He was born in like 1984 or something like that. What's up with that, George Orwell? Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. We're back on the horse. Subscribe if you want to see more in the future. And I'll see you next time. See ya.